an.
Hello again, everyone. Erdogan is on the balcony. Let's see what's gonna happen. What's he gonna say? Because the election results are not in. It's a disaster over there.
Anda açık ara fark atıldığını, açık ara önde olduklarını vurguladı. Aynı zamanda yurt dışı oylarının da henüz sayılmadığı için, hepsinin sayılıp bitirilmediği için %50'nin üstünde bu turu bitireceğimize inanıyoruz demekle beraber ama milletimiz ikinci...
He said that the votes that have come in from outside the country, from other countries, have not been counted yet. That's what he's saying. Turks around the world have been voting since last week. I mean, technically, they're 7 hours ahead of us, so it's way past midnight. It's Monday morning over there, but yeah, there are 190,000 ballots. I'm sorry, 190,000 ballot boxes. Last I checked, which was a couple hours ago. No, less than a couple hours ago, actually. The 60,000 of them haven't been counted yet, and the Erdogan's party have contested ballot box results and demanded recounts of numerous ones that they didn't have the majority out of 11 times over. This thing started and immediately crashed into a crawl. And yeah.
İkinci tura kalmasını uygun görüyorsa bunun da bu kararında başımızın üstünde yeri var. Bunu da kabul ederiz dedi. Dünyanın önde gelen demokrasileri arasında yer aldığımızı bir kez daha kanıtladık. Seçimlere katılım oranı oldukça yüksek dedi. Dünyada bunun bir benzeri yok ifadesini kullandı. Ayrıca yurt dışı seçmene de, yurt dışında sandık başına giden seçmene de teşekkür etti. Yurt dışında da bir rekor katılımın olduğunu söyledi. Ve milletimiz tercihini huzur içinde sandığa yansıttı, huzur içinde ifadesinde kullandı. Tabii meclis çoğunluğunun Cumhur İttifakı'nda olduğuna değindi. Vatandaşlara teşekkür etti. Kazanan ülkemiz oldu dedi. Arada CHP yöneticileri ve bazı belediye başkanlarının bazı iç hesapları var dedi. Biz teröristlerle kol kola olmadık dedi. Millet kararını verdi dedi. Seçim sonuçları dediği gibi henüz şöyle seçim...
He's talking about various different subjects, and he's trying to distance himself from his own past, such as saying, as you can see on the screen, it says biz teröristlerle kol kola olmadık. We weren't arm to arm, or we weren't linked at the arms with the terrorists, is what he is saying, which reflects to his past, where he has been even when he was very young, when he was at the beginning of his political career. He had connections to Muslim Brotherhood on one end, on the religious side of that geography. He has strong ties to what's going on the other side of the Mediterranean, on the southern coast of Mediterranean, in Libya, in Egypt, so on. And what you want to call it, Erdogan is one of the puppets of Soros. So he is ideologically, monetarily, and sociopolitically well groomed into the position that he is in. Do not forget, Recep Tayyip Erdogan is a street thug that worked and was groomed into becoming the president of Turkey. So none of this is political in the way that you would think politics plays itself out as it does in the West. This, I wish I had better words to describe, but yeah. Let's see what else they have to say.
Seçim sonuçlarının henüz kesinleşmemiş olması milletimizin bizden yana olmadığı anlamına gelmez dedi. Şimdi bu bir teşekkür konuşmasıydı. Konuşmasını bitirirken de elbette her zaman
So they're calling this a thank you speech, a appreciation speech, because he can't say that they won. This whole thing has come down to a crawl because he's losing, and he's losing big time, which is why he is constantly contesting each ballot box in which he doesn't have the majority of, and just keeps on demanding recounts. Never mind the fact that the election rules have been changed many times over leading up to this election, and on top of everything else, based on the Constitution of the Republic of Turkey, he can't be president again. The president cannot run and be in power more than 2 terms. Let's say that he is legitimately elected, even though he hasn't won anything legitimately well over a decade, more than a decade. Let's say that he has. It's null and void because he can't be president anymore. He can't run for a 3rd term. But this is Turkish democracy at its finest.
zaman olduğu gibi, her konuşmasında olduğu gibi büyük ve güçlü Türkiye vurgusunu yaptı. Oradaki kalabalık, AK Parti Genel Merkezi'ndeki kalabalık saatler önce, gerçekten saatler önce, bu akşam vakit aslında çok hızlı geçti gibi geldi bana. Saatler 2.30'u gösteriyor neredeyse. Biz yayınımıza saat 16'da başladık. 18.40'da Anadolu Ajansı'ndan veriler gelmeye başladığı andan itibaren AK Parti Genel Merkezi önünde bir kalabalık toplanmaya başlamıştı.
Şey var şimdi, bu CHP ve altılı parti şunu söylemedi mi kamuoyuna? Yani 500.000 kişi neredeyse görevlendirdik demediler mi? Evet. Her sandık başına 2 kişi, 3 kişi her partiden koyacağız demediler mi? Ve kendi sistemimizi kurduk demediler mi?
Ama see, it says açık ara öndeyiz, right at the bottom, which means that they're leading with a gap. That's what they're trying to say. Oh, you know, the election's not over, and this is totally not a runoff. We don't need a runoff, and we're ahead. And thank you. He's you know what? Let's
ama şöyle bak, şimdi şu an tartışma şu: sosyal medyada çok enteresan bir linç başladı. Kime biliyor musunuz? Tuncay Özkan'a yükleniyor muhalif hesaplar.
Kime yüklensin?
Niye açtın? Anka üzerinden son.
These guys are talking heads. The difference is they're just sitting there next to each other now. Habertürk is another YouTube channel, and they're running the stories. They're running the total. The title as, "Oh wow, they changed it. They changed it." Because that's not what I clicked on.
Aynısı. Bir şey ekleyeyim. Bu çok önemli. Şimdi muhalefet aslında bütün bu hikayeyi, altılı masa hikayesini, temelini şöyle kurdu. Dediler ki biz, bu bir referandumdur. Tırnak içinde kendi ifadeleriyle sizi tek adam rejiminden kurtaracağız. Türkiye'yi demokratik, güçlendirilmiş bir parlamenter sisteme geri döndüreceğiz.
Evet, motivasyon buydu.
Temel motivasyon ve...
Look at this. Look at this breakdown. Milletvekili seçimi Türkiye geneli. The general parliamentarian seat count. These are various political parties. Right here, the far left, you got the AKP, which is the Erdogan's party. That's 267 seats, which has the majority, and the main opposition is CHP, with those are the red ones right here, and right next to it is MHP and AKP. They make the main coalition of the ruling regime, even though MHP are just fetcher steppers and yes my lords of AKP. Whatever AKP says goes, and MHP just they sold their souls, and because if you know the history of MHP, you would think that they would be the hardcore main opposition to AKP, but absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's not the case at all. So MHP and AKP are what's called the Republican coalition, even though I'm not going to go into a tangent of the title that they have chosen and what they actually have conducted themselves as has nothing to do with any sort of Republican behavior, in the sense that don't think of it as the American terminologies of Republican versus Democrat. No. Republican in the sense that it's the rule of law. I'm talking about much basic common definition of the term Republican. Rule of law versus rule of one man. This is the Republican coalition that has been championing rule of one man, and they have brought it to a point where there was a referendum, those of you that remember, where Erdogan grasped the most amount of power in the history of Turkey, democratically, of course, as long as you ask him. But of course it wasn't democratically. They cheated the whole thing and they got caught. But media is in their pocket, and it's I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know if you've lived on this planet for more than 10 minutes. But it's the whole thing is a disaster. Now the opposition, the coalition of people, or People's Coalition, is made of CHP, IP, HDP, RP, and others. It's everyone. Every time somebody says we need more political parties, this is a great example of them not knowing what they're talking about. If you have a rainbow full of political parties, all you're going to do is fragmentation of the populace. Then you're going to go nowhere. But in politics, you can't afford that. You can't afford to lose face. So then you're going to pivot and go for coalitions. That means any party coming together with any other party to get the numbers that they need in order to raise themselves over the barrage and clear the number of seats that's necessary, number of seats and number of votes that's necessary in order to claim power. And once they claim power, they're going to spend the entire term. First of all, they're going to chop it in half so that one party becomes the leader and the other becomes their, supporter, so to speak. And after the first half of the first term, they'll flip and switch their positions and so forth. And because one cannot allow, despite the fact that they are in power together, one cannot allow the other to outshine each other. What they're going to do is spend an entire governmental term, electoral term, sabotaging each other. In the meantime, People have been suffering from beginning to the end of this entire thing. This is why democracy, direct democracy, sucks. Turkey is a direct democracy. 100% of the votes count in a populist way. Everything's based on a popular vote. And it has been like that since its founding. And this is just... this is insane. But then again, if it wasn't insane, then I'll be questioning reality.
Temel dayanak noktası buydu. Peki bunu yapabilmek için halka ne anlattılar? Anayasayı değiştirecek çoğunluğu biz alıyoruz dediler. Yani 360 milletvekilini biz çıkarabiliyoruz dediler.
Meclis kesin, Cumhurbaşkanlığını zorlayacağız.
360 milletvekilini çıkarıyoruz dediler. Şu an sanırım 215 milletvekilini zar zor toplayabildiler. Yani aslında olayın ben daha başka bir boyutundan bakmaya çalışıyorum. Millet İttifakı'nın temel vaadi şu an çökmüş oldu. Bu bir. İkincisi...
He talked about this guy that was talking. He made a good point. He made a good point. In Turkey, if you secure 360 seats, you have such a gigantic majority that you can make constitutional changes. And right now, AKP has 267 and 91 with. Was it 91 or I can't tell? It's too small. 51 or 91, something like that. Let me see if I can make this even bigger. Okay. MV, milletvekili. Right up here, milletvekili, even though that it's two separate words, but it's compound words. It's Turkish. Don't worry about it. Don't get sucked into that. Each MV, think of it as what the British use, MP, Member of Parliament. Think of it like that, okay? 267 plus 51. So that's where they're at. 360 and above would allow them to make constitutional changes. And they were they were walking around like roosters trying to get credit for the sunrise, thinking that, you know what, they're going to be able to do whatever the hell they want. It's been a one-man, regime already. The parliament, the Turkish parliament, is nothing but a showcase to try to basically use it as a physical representation of their claim that yes, this is a democracy, not a dictatorship. It's catastrophic.
HDP anahtar parti. Bu seçimin kilidi, anahtarı, tezi de çökmüş oldu. Öyle bir şey yok. Sinan Oğan daha çok anahtar oldu. Yani Sinan Oğan'ın çok daha böyle ne bileyim Sayın Cumhurbaşkanı...
O da ikinci tura kalırsa.
Yani evet, ikinci tura kalırsa. Kaldı ki Sayın Cumhurbaşkanı çok net ifade etti. Seçimin muhtemeldir ki yurt dışı oylarıyla birlikte ilk turda bu iş bitecek. Yani öyle görülüyor.
27 milyon oy.
Now, one thing that you need to understand is that there could be multiple elections, multiple counts. In the sense that if Erdogan can't clear 50% or 50 plus, you know what I mean? Then it will trigger a second tour. That's what they're calling it. Another tour of votes. And the way Erdogan is spinning this is that, look, the votes that Turks have been casting in other countries have not been counted yet. So that's going to push us over. Thus, we got this, guys. Don't worry. And that's the line he is taking. While he's been contesting and demanding recounts of every ballot box that he hasn't been coming out as a holder of a majority of. 11 times over 11 times over. And there are altogether 190,000 of them, and 60,000 of them haven't been counted yet. And as of an hour and a half ago, people were still, despite the fact that it was past 1 in the morning on a Monday, because the election was supposed to take place completely from 8 a.m. in the morning till midnight or something like that on Sunday, which was, as far as Turks are concerned, it's yesterday, which is still today. They're 7 hours ahead of us. People were still casting ballots. And so the whole thing is a disaster.
Oyu veren seçmene teşekkür etti. Şu anki katılım oranıyla
Tabii.
27.6 milyon oy alındığı zaman 50.01 ediyor.
Evet.
Yani yurt dışından Sayın Cumhurbaşkanı Recep Tayyip Erdoğan'a 600 bin oy.
Here you go. The orange, it says Cumhur underneath, means republic. To mean Republican coalition. Remember the AKP and MHP that I talked about? Basically, you put them together to have 49 something. And People's Coalition, which is basically almost all the other parties in opposition, united. They're at 44 something. I'm sorry, 35 something, but they have put their support behind the Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, who is at 44%. And yes, people, we are in 1990s. We have Doğan here. I'm sorry, Oğan. Excuse me. And if anybody looks at this picture and says, isn't this whole picture a bit Clinton Ross Perot thing? Well, you wouldn't be called an idiot for thinking that. I'll just say it that way. There's nothing new under the sun, people. There's nothing new under the sun. It's the same shit repackaged over and over again.
Geldiği anda seçim ilk turda bitiyor. Ama tabii ki Yüksek Seçim Kurulu'nun kesin sonuçlarını beklemek gerekiyor.
Ama orada da şu önemli bir vurgu bence. Yani sandığa, demokrasiye yönelik yaptığı o vurgu önemli.
Because if Oğan wasn't in here, okay, there's no way that people that voted for Oğan would have voted for Erdoğan. Those votes would have gone either to Ata or it would have gone to Kılıçdaroğlu. Let's say they went to Kılıçdaroğlu. 44.9%, 5.3%. That's breaking over the barrage of 50% of the votes as it stands right now. The second and third tours would not be triggered. Kılıçdaroğlu would have the majority. The election would be over, and the nightmare would be over for the Republic of Turkey. But no. 20 plus years? No. This disease has placed itself very well in that geography. And not going to be that easy. Let's see what happens.
Ya bir oy eksik çıksa bile ikinci tura kalacak bu iş. Ne diyor?
There we go. It's we're approaching 24 minutes. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to post this and going to go back to covering this. But yeah, don't want to make this any bigger than it needs to be. Forgotten country.